This is an interview between me, Bladeaxe, and Krzysztof Pikes, the creator of the Minecraft resource pack, Askew. The full video for what this interview is a part of can be found in the description. Enjoy. So, I think the first question we'll start with is, who are you, what is Askew, and how long have you been working on it?
My name is Krzysztof Pikes. I made Minecraft Askew, and Minecraft Askew is a very strange project. It's a resource pack that not only changes all the visuals and does a bunch of weird visual stuff. It's all very not by the books, which is a pain. But it also does a complete overhaul of the audio, which means like over 2,000 sound effects, and we're now at 5 hours of original Minecraft-inspired music. It's crazy. The original album came out earlier in 2024, and at that point, I had been working on it for about 2 years. And since then, I'm still working on Askew. I'm not quite done with it. So very soon, depending on when this releases, it will be about 3 years that I'm working on Askew, which might be too long for this.
I think you mentioned you started like back in like 1.16 now, and there's been a lot of resource pack changes, especially since with Minecraft updating all the time. And how's that affected the workflow?
You're absolutely right. I'm pretty sure I started 1.16. I can't find exact days because I was being very quiet about it at the time. Yeah. But there have been a lot of changes. It's a little frustrating because they'll just go in and change random stuff. They'll change the names of certain textures, which is quite annoying. I think the biggest annoyance I had was they would add Mojang updates their game kind of infrequently, which I'm not complaining about. I'm actually saying I kind of like that right now. But because of that, when they update something, they need to justify the amount of time they do.
Yeah.
And something that almost no one's going to notice is they add like 18 billion new sounds for stuff that really doesn't need new sounds. So it makes it so that I have to go and re-record a bunch of sounds for stuff that really doesn't need it, which sometimes I just reassign old sounds. The biggest example that I can think of is the Warden. The Warden has actually like 90 sounds, and it does not need that many. I'm sorry, it does not need that many.
To be honest, I think that whole update was all about sound, wasn't it? Because like the whole like point of it being silent in the deep dark as well. So
you know, that's a good point. Maybe I'm being too harsh on them for that one. Maybe they had a good reason for the sounds, but that would be my biggest complaint on working on this for so long.
Yeah. Because I know they changed like folder names as well to just like shorten or add remove S or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I think you've answered this question on stream before, but why did you pick 14x14 as the text resolution for the pack? Was it like an artistic choice or something else?
I mean, technically every choice is an artistic choice of some sort. I mean, I think sometimes I do something because I don't know why. Yeah. But for this, I think it was a conscious choice. I was like, okay, I want to do something weird with resolution because I never see anyone do anything weird with resolution. It's always like 16x16 or some multiple of that, or sometimes a division of that.
Yeah.
So I thought, what's a weird thing to do? Okay, just take away like 1 pixel, make it 15x15. And then I thought, okay, but also that's too obvious because I thought of that the first try. So I went down one more to 14x14.
Yeah. So, because I know it's definitely like with models, like they're all coded to be like within resolutions of 2, right? So I know you've had to like from scratch redo every model in the entire game just for the 14x14 like textures. So like
absolutely. Well, every model with an asterisk. There's some models that were like just too small for me to reduce any resolution on, like a tadpole. Oh, yeah. You know, and I'm like, well, just whatever. You know, you can be the regular resolution. That's fine. So some things still have their original models, but for the most part, I want to say like 80% of the entities in game have completely new models.
Yeah, because I think the bat's also the same size because they changed the resolution for that as well, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Right, and I think we'll move on to a very big part of the pack, and that is audio. So you've got 54 unique tracks here, and every menu sound, pop-up, alert, animals, monsters, all have unique sounds. Where did the sort of inspiration come for such a unique soundscape?
I'm not really an audio designer. Audio designing was something that came up when I started doing this pack. Like I've done some amount of it for I'm talking sound effects here.
Because I think you mentioned that you were self-taught as well.
Yeah, I've never taken. Well, I've taken one music class, but it was band. The only instrument I actually know how to play is trumpet, so which isn't not that helpful here.
I think that's more than me because I can do like the triangle.
Yeah, for sure. But the sound effects, it's almost all just things in my room. Sometimes I would go out and buy objects to help make sounds, like the glass breaking. I got my partner got me some Legos for Christmas. We were doing some sort of Lego thing, and I had a bag of Legos and I threw them on the ground, and that's the sound of the glass breaking.
That's really cool.
Certain stuff, now that I tell you what the sounds are, you're going to be able to hear it. The eating sounds is me going nuts on some Oreos, stuff like that.
I think with the spider, what sort of sound was the spider? 'Cause it's quite a unique sort of walking sound.
The walking sound is just me tapping on my desk, with some particular aligning to the original vanilla sounds, which was also a troubling time, because a lot of the vanilla sounds, they want you to not have them. There's some sort of copyright on them or something where they don't want you to be able to easily use all of the vanilla sounds. So getting copies of them and trying to align them with the new Askew sounds, because if they go over, it's going to sound weird. If they go under, it's going to sound weird. That was a unique challenge. For the spiders, like I said, it's just some tapping on my desk with some strange alignment.
Yeah. So some tracks you have are like quite a blend between C418. I know Weight is a key example of that. But I also know that you try to intentionally make something different from C418, because I think in your stream you mentioned that you watched some of C418's work and then tried to do the opposite of what he was doing. So like, what was that? Like.
Well, obviously I love C418. It's impossible to do this much Minecraft work and not love C418. But I also noticed that whenever the new composers would release music, everyone was angry for some reason. Well, I know the reason. The reason is nostalgia. It's because they love what they grew up with, and adding something new is like ruining something sacred to them. But I thought it was interesting that they all got to make Minecraft in their own way. They all got to interpret how Minecraft sounded to them, and a lot of that, still included the pianos and the slowness. But I thought to go even further than that, to go, okay, well, I know that Minecraft music is this. Can it be this? And I will say, there's a lot of music that didn't make it. A lot of the time, Minecraft music can't be this. But I'm really excited to stretch things past what might be reasonable.
So, when you started making it nearly 3 years ago at this point, did you fully understand the Goliathan task you'd set yourself? Because I'd imagine you'd probably be like, oh, I'm going to make a resource pack, and it's like this 3 years later.
I mean, I definitely didn't understand how big. When I came up with the idea, I was just driving with my partner, and we were coming up with funny ideas for like April Fool's gags that Mojang could do, and we said, what if it just loads a different game? What if it's just the entire game is different and they pretend there is no April Fool's gag? And I thought, man, that's kind of funny. And then I just started working on it, and I knew at the time that there weren't really audio resource packs. And I figured in my brain, that's probably for a reason. There's probably a reason that people don't do this. There's probably, if people could do this, they would be doing it, right? And it turns out the reason that people don't do it is, number one, because it's a Herculean task. It's crazy to do this. And number two, because it doesn't really pay off that well. It's hard to advertise that sounds are different.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to advertise that this is a big change, because it's hard to make someone play it. You know.
Plus, often like people have their music turned off as well in game, so you wouldn't even hear it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, precisely.
I think you mentioned on stream that Legacy is your favorite piece of music that you made for Skew. It's quite a long piece, starting about 8 minutes. Personally, I quite like the atmosphere it creates. It's almost like, to me, it's kind of like the story of like an adventurer, because it starts off quite small, and it like gets louder and louder through the piece. So, out of all the 54 tracks, what makes Legacy your favorite?
Legacy was one of the first I did, which I say that a lot because there were a lot that I did in that first like month or so of working on Askew, and then as I kept going, I upgraded those songs and made them more full.
Yeah.
Because when I was doing it in the first month, I wasn't really taking it seriously. It was more like a joke thing, which it kind of still is a joke thing, but I'm taking it considerably more seriously now. Legacy is I don't think that the sentiment that I have that it's the best one is shared by everyone. I think most people for the most part, Legacy is just another one, which is fine. I'm not complaining. I really don't know. I think at the time when I was composing Legacy, I was having certain feelings relating to Legacy, relating to the finiteness of existence, of only being around for so long. And it was kind of scary at the time that if I hadn't made Askew, which is like this still isn't an awesome legacy to have, then I would have like nothing. If I were to pass at that very moment, it would just be there would be nothing to remember.
Like your magnum opus.
So yeah, sure. And I don't know if Askew's my magnum opus. I'm hoping it's not. I still like it. I like it a whole lot. I like it a whole lot. But you know, it's a Minecraft resource pack.
Yeah.
I do have some other stuff that I'm planning to do.
Yeah.
But at the time being, because I have nothing else, it is my magnum opus.
Yeah.
So you can write that down.
No, honestly, I think because I think we all sort of want to create like a big thing, and I think for me, like you end up. I think for me, because I about a couple of years ago made it a Minecraft server, and it ended up getting about over the period of about 3 years. I think we shut it down in 2023. It got about 30,000 people that joined it, right?
Damn, that's pretty sweet. That's a crazy amount, I think.
It was amazing, but it's like I don't want that to be my biggest achievement, because it's like, you know, that is
right.
A lot of work went into it, but it's like I don't want that to be like the final thing. It's like a good thing I've done, but not like the final step. So I guess
I understand. That
leads me to, if you to try and outdo yourself, how would you go bigger than Askew?
I don't know. I mean, going bigger than Askew would mean, I guess, making a mod that undoes a bunch of stuff. But I'm not really interested in that. I like that Askew can be used anywhere. You can be playing Minecraft with a friend, and you're playing two separate games. I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
I think in terms of outdoing it, I actually have a little bit of that issue, because I'm working on a second album. I'm working on an addendum album to Askew.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm outdoing it. And I'm not really trying to outdo it. I'm just trying to make some more, have some more fun.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling with how I'm going to end this album as we speak, because I don't know if I want to outdo like the end poem or something, because I don't really have an end poem to outdo it to. I've already done that. So I don't know if outdoing this is the way to go. I think my next project will kind of be outdoing it, just because it'll be from the ground up. It won't be based on another project.
Because I know you're making a game as well.
Yeah, that's right. I'm making I'm doing a solo dev game based around the Gloober character, which people really enjoy from Askew. Yeah. Which I'm gonna stay kind of quiet on for now, just because I'm still in the working phases of that. Yeah. So, but yeah.
So, when it comes to, because I know you've talked a bit about like sort of finality, right? Because like the idea of when a project's done, it's done. When would you? Because especially with Minecraft adding more things as the time goes on, especially with their new update schedule with the new 1.20, 1.4 and spring update, in a couple months' time. When would you?
Right.
When are you thinking of ending development? What's like a period of time when you're like, okay, Askew's finished?
Well, definitely I'm, waiting until I'm finished with the new album. And then after that, that's probably it. I think after that, I might do one update after that if I end up releasing it right on another update releasing so that people can enjoy a full Askew experience. But yes, Askew's not going to be developed ad infinitum. I just can't. Even if I really wanted to, adding all these new sounds every single time and adding like new music discs and stuff like that for the rest of time would be absolutely exhausting. I don't really want that to be what I do with my life, because that's what it would end up being. It would end up being my life.
Yeah.
And I still like it. And maybe after a while, maybe I'll update it and then I'll work on another project, maybe 2 other projects. And then in like 10 years, I'll come back to it. But I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt that after I finish it, I'm going to return.
Yeah. So I guess when it comes, because the music's the biggest part of Askew, what is your process of making music?
Sure. I mean, it's different for every track, I think. Sometimes I will just be sitting around doing stuff and I'll come up with a melody, and I don't play any instruments, so I just hum it into my microphone, and then I transcribe that with a piano virtual instrument. Sometimes I'll start with chords. I'll think this is a nice chord progression, and then lay a melody over top of that. It's difficult to say. I know a big factor that comes with doing Askew music is I focus a lot more on being able to hum a melody, other than like the more atmospheric stuff that the new composers do.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying this is how I'm doing this process. I have to make that disclaimer every time I mention any composer. But I focus more on after you've finished playing the game, I've got a worm in your brain, and now you're humming a little bit of the melody that I cocked up, which that's fun for me. I enjoy having that slightly different take on how Minecraft music should be.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll go a bit deeper when it came to doing disc 11, which is like the crackly disc, right? That you've basically, because I know you had like about a second of like crackliness at the beginning, and it like transforms into this really like sort of upbeat,
right,
sort of atmosphere for that disc. Like, when you were making 11, what was like because it's completely different from like the original one.
So this is a good question. I really like this question, because the solo dev project that I'm doing was actually going to come before Askew. I don't know if you're familiar with the Kirby franchise of games from Nintendo. Yeah. That's like my favorite game series of all time. And I was originally going to make a Kirby fan game before Askew took over. And Disc 11 was just one of the songs that I made for the Kirby fan game. And then I realized, well, I don't want to put this to waste. I really like this song, and it's weird. This could be fun here. I'll take the 11 like concept and I'll flip it on its head. It's no longer some weird, scary thing. Now it's this very chipper, upbeat thing.
Yeah. And
every time that there's visuals attached to 11, I always put the Gloober character in there. So that kind of became the Gloober theme, I think, just purely by accident. But there is stuff that I added specifically for Askew. There's the second section where the guitar starts playing. That's entirely new for Askew. The original version that I made for the fan game didn't have that. And yeah, it was just a bunch of coincidences lining up to make something fun, I think, which, that's always something neat. That's why it's interesting that we said, oh, everything's an artistic choice. But I don't know if that was. I mean, there were some in there, but it was just it was a lot of coincidences that made that so fun, I think.
I know you've mentioned there's like a leitmotif that goes through the whole album,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you've
Right.
focused a lot on like the idea of and the theme of hope. Where did that sort of
Mm-hmm.
that come from? And like, because I know sort of C418 focused on like the sort of loneliness aspect of Minecraft, and you've
Mm-hmm.
got the other composers focusing on different aspects. So why,
Mm-hmm.
when making Askew to make it sort of unique, why'd you pick hope?
Well, when I was very, very downtrodden when I started Askew. I just had a project that failed absolutely miserably. It was really bad. So when I wrote Netherlands, which is the song in which the hope motif originates
Mm-hmm.
from, I was I really didn't know what the motif was. I just knew that, hey, this combination of notes, this fits really well with a lot of the other songs here. I wonder why. I wonder why this is happening. Which this is kind of artsy fartsy cringe. Like I don't even know if I fully believe in music having a life of its own. But at some point, I realized, oh, that's what this motif is. This motif is hope. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
the fun Askew motif. It's specifically, this comes in when something is full of hope, or when something has the potential to be full of hope. And I didn't realize that, which meant that for half of the soundtrack, I didn't know. I was just putting that in and like, this is fun, I like this. And then for the other half, I did know. I knew that, okay, this song has the hope motif on purpose, and some other songs do not have the hope motif on purpose. There's the very long end song that's like 12 minutes long, and it goes through a shit ton of songs that are in the soundtrack, and it very specifically does not include the hope motif at any point in there. Just because I think if any place we're gonna be hopeless in Minecraft, it would probably be the end, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah, that's about right.
because I know you focused a lot on the small details. For example, like the
Mm-hmm.
subtitles, especially when music is
Mm-hmm.
coming in. Is there like a sort of a sort of deeper sort of lore reason, or like a reason why you sort of made it like adventures around the corner, or like, and they change and they never, so it's like, despairs around the corner, that sort of thing.
Right. I mean, I think some people think it might be an ARG. They might think that I'm doing some alternate reality game, or there's some big lore. There's not really some big lore. I think the fun of it is that you get to make your big lore if you'd like.
Yeah.
There's nothing concrete about like storylines or anything like that. I just think Askew is something that almost everyone is going to play after Minecraft. They're going to have a full Minecraft experience and then try Askew,
Yeah.
which is maybe the only concrete lore thing, if you could even call it that, that exists. The fun part about the just around the corner line that shows up in subtitles is that does lead back into the great end poem that was written by my friend Cassandra Bick.
Yeah.
And at the very last line, it says, that the big event that's happening is just around the corner, with a nice piano flourish. So there's definitely a through line of thought. There's intent behind the decisions. It's just the intent is also that you can have your own intent.
Yeah. Because I think, to me, the whole point of Askew is it's like, it is Askew. Minecraft has sort of been shifted slightly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that idea of things have been changed in like a way that it's like, perhaps you wouldn't have expected, is quite a lovely and a very interesting, unique sort of design decision, right?
Yeah.
How did you? Was that like intentional? Because I know you've mentioned that it's just sort of like an idea you had with your girlfriend in the car, but like as you were developing
Mm-hmm.
it, did that become more intentional, or was that just sort of like, oh, we'll just go with it?
Yeah, it became intentional because we've already got vanilla. It seemed like a waste of effort, kind of, to just make more vanilla, and just have everything be very standard and regular, because this was going to be a big task no matter what.
Yeah.
And if I went through the big task and then it's just, oh, this is what I expect, then that's kind of boring. I think
Yeah.
that kind of takes some of the fun out of having something unique, you know?
Yeah. So I suppose we'll go back to the textures. What's your process of making a texture? Because they're 14 by 14, right? So you kind of have to rethink them a lot.
Right. For a lot of it, I use Fire Alpaca, which is a free visual editing software, and I will just put it into a tile mode of 28 by 28, and I'll just make sure that everything lines up nicely. There's certain things that are a challenge, like there are half blocks in Minecraft and the stairs in Minecraft. So for those in Java Edition, I went and just made custom models for them, so that way they fit in 14 by 14, because otherwise they just don't. It just doesn't work out. There's weird like bleeding pixels onto each side, which no one likes that. I don't like that. So and for it gets tricky on Bedrock though, which I'm not going to say a whole lot about because of written reasons.
Okay.
The 14 by 14 textures don't work on Bedrock. They don't like them on Bedrock. Something with how it processes the textures it doesn't like. So technically everything on the Bedrock edition is 28 by 28. It's a magnitude larger. Because it just breaks everything to have 14 by 14. Java also breaks when you have 14 by 14. You have to turn off maps or it makes everything blurry. So it's just a pain. I made it a pain for me and everyone else.
I mean, do you have plans on releasing Askew on the Bedrock Marketplace? Because I know you said you wanted to make some money off of Askew, and that's fair.
I have plans and a little bit more. But, like I said, for written reasons, I can't say anything else. So, but I would say maybe anticipate it. Maybe. I don't know if soon, but it's possible. Something good is happening.
I like it. So, how many custom secrets are there in the packs? I know you've got like ones where you can rename items and you get like different, like, emerald or titanium or rose gold. Like how many? Because I know also when you like make the wither, there's also a chance of it being like the wither storm from story mode. Like how? Like when you were coming up with these secrets, like was it just like, oh, well, that's a cool thing from a related franchise, or was it just something more unique?
I mean, it was all just, oh, this is cool. I'll do this. Most of it is from like it's Minecraft related. Some of it is like kind of pretending to be Minecraft related. Maybe in the Askew universe, this is a reference to something. Like Platinum doesn't really have a thing in the Minecraft fandom. Like Emerald tools and Ruby tools, that's been done in mods for centuries. So that makes sense. But and the Witherstorm obviously from story mode. And changed a bit so that the hitbox was entirely within the command block. I thought that was a fun way to bring that into vanilla Minecraft.
Yeah.
There's quite a few other just random things. Like you can rename dogs to Gloober, and you'll get that little guy. There's new secrets that get added every time I update the game. Every time I update the pack, I add like one or two new secrets just for fun. It's really quite silly because some people will find the new secrets and be like, I don't remember this being in the original pack, which means I get to Askew their Askew experience. So I mean, it's a lot of fun. I don't have an exact number on how many weird changes there are, but there's quite a few, more than I can count on my hands. That's for sure.
Askewception.
Yeah, exactly.
What part would you say you're the proudest of out of the whole thing, from textures to music? Which bit is like, yeah, that was my favorite?
I mean, it would probably have to be the music, right? That seems obvious because that sort of thing I can make a story out of without you needing to download the pack. You can experience all of that because it can transcend that. You can go and listen to it on Spotify or whatnot. But that's probably my favorite part, and that's the part that almost all the marketing is surrounded around because that hasn't been done before. But music is probably my favorite part. I think so. Like I said, just everything surrounds around the music happening, and that's, I think, when the most fun happens is you're playing it and you're already appreciating the sounds and maybe a little frustrated with the textures, but then you hear the music, you're like, that's fun,
So I suppose, what part of the soundtrack are you the most unhappy with?
That is a wonderful question. I think the unhappy for me, that's tough. I think probably, man, I gotta think about this because there's a couple definitions for unhappy. I'd consider it with this. I guess it's kind of a bummer sometimes when songs that took like a day to make, those are the ones that are popular for some reason. Those are the ones that people are like, oh, this one's great. This one really speaks to me. Which is, it's great that it speaks to you. I'm super excited that you get to have an experience that speaks truly to you. But I'm like, well, damn, I spent like 4 months on this other one. you know? So I guess that I don't really have any song in particular that I dislike. I think if there were any songs that I disliked right now, it would be songs from the Addendum soundtrack, because I'm still working on them. They're not finished yet. Yeah. So I guess that's my answer. Is but still, everyone go and buy the Addendum soundtrack when it comes out.
So I suppose, what is the creative process like? How do you come up with an idea and then go about implementing it into the game?
I'm not. I don't really know about how I come up with the idea. I'd love to say that I have a creative process or a way to make me think creatively, but I mean, sometimes I think I've probably had the most ideas while just driving for a long distance and getting to think to myself, because it's nice and quiet, and I get to see things that I don't normally see driving outside of towns that I don't live in. So I guess that's where I get a lot of ideas, but that's just because a majority of them, not a huge majority, but like 40%, and then the rest are just other random crap that make no real obvious connection. And for implementing the ideas, it's more so you can't stop me. It's just I tend to get very tunnel vision, and so I can't not do it for some reason.
Once the ball's rolling, it's rolling.
Exactly, yeah. And sometimes I have had to sit down with myself and say, okay, man, this doesn't work. It's a fun idea and concept, but this in practice and function, this makes the game worse for people. So just we're gonna roll that back. I can't think of any ideas off the top of my head, but there certainly were some.
Because I know the whole pack was sort of built around using Optifine as its base, right? And especially with Optifine being slower and slower with updates to recent versions with the technical changes under the hood, do you have any plans of having Askew be supported outside of Optifine? Because there's a lot of mods like ETM or whatever, the texture models and the sound models. Yeah, they you can put them together and get sort of an almost Optifine-like experience.
Yeah, if I could choose again, I probably wouldn't choose Optifine. Like I said, I started working on it at 1.16, and at that point, they were updating kind of frequently, I think. So it wasn't really an issue. And then when I got to the finish line, I was waiting for them to just update to the most recent version, because I couldn't work on Askew if they didn't update it. And I don't really have any plans to make it work with specific other alternatives, because I'd just be working forever. If other people want to do that, they're welcome to. Askew's royalty free, so you can release your own Askew that's for some other version. But there are a lot of alternatives. There are a lot of things that specifically are trying to emulate the resource pack functionalities of Optifine. There are mods that do that for Forge and for Fabric. I'm fairly sure. So it's still possible to enjoy Askew. Sometimes those specific mods, they forget a feature or two, like they'll forget the custom lighting, or they'll forget the skyboxes or something. But those are options. The Bedrock Edition, I keep bringing it up, and it makes me nervous every time I do because I'm not used to talking about it and having to not say certain things. But I can say for sure that if a Bedrock version releases, you're just going to have to download the pack. You're not going to have to install any other thing. It all just works with the single install. There won't be any other issues, which I do feel like I do wish I did something like that for the original pack. But it means that we would have gotten less cool stuff for sure.
Because I know when I was trying to get your pack to work, Optifine just would not load on my system. So I had to spend at least a couple days just trawling through Modrimp to assemble about 41 different mods to sort of replicate all the features that Askew had. Because there's a lot of them. Because the only things that I didn't manage to get working was I think some animations were like a tiny bit off. Like perhaps like the wings flapping on the chicken were a bit too far apart. But I managed to get coloured lighting, like the skyboxes. Because I didn't realize you actually had a proper skybox until I watched your stream, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm missing half the experience." So I had to install about 2 more mods, and it was like, "Oh, this is beautiful. You've done a fantastic job on the skies. I can't believe I was missing this for half the bloody playthrough."
I appreciate it.
But yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a challenge to try and get it to work outside of Optifine. I don't know why. I mean, I tried it on 2 different computers, and it still just wouldn't load. So, would you say that?
I'm sure.
Would you say that using
sorry, go ahead.
Optifine is sort of is limiting the sort of audience you could have had with Askew?
That's a good question. I think probably. I think the second comment I ever received on anything Askew related was someone saying like, "This is cool. Now do it again without Optifine," which that's a bit rude.
Yeah,
I think that's a bit rude. This took a lot of effort, but also I do understand. I understand that you know other people want to play with other mods or other performance enhancers. So I do get that I have limited my audience, but I do think it provides some fun features. I think it has it's a nice one-stop shop for including a whole bunch of stuff that isn't possible with vanilla. At least when I started making Askew, it was the most popular client that people installed. I don't know if that's still the case. I think stuff like Sodium or like the Lunar thing that might be more popular now. But at the time that I was doing it, Optifine was a no-brainer. Now it's a little bit of a brainer. You know, I've got a I don't know if I regret it per se, because like I said, we'd have less cool features if I had to say, okay, you got to install all of this separate stuff to make all this stuff work. But I think I'm fine with it. I think I'm okay.
I think if we dive into sort of technical features here, I think the coloured lighting to me is one of, I think when I went first into the Nether and I saw like a warped forest with the full pack enabled, I was like, that is stunning. Like, you've done a fantastic job with the coloured lighting, especially in the Nether. Like, sort of, how did you go from having, I guess, nothing to then building this whole system out? How do you manage to get that working?
I mean, the colored lighting is honestly kind of simple to the point that, like, if they wanted to, vanilla could do this. It's just that there's a lighting file that is just a gradient from white to black, or from like yellow to black for torches and stuff, and it's just that. I'm my background is in 2D animation and set building and whatnot, so lighting in color theory is something that comes naturally to me, and I realized this is kind of boring. It just goes from white to black. It's not that interesting. So I just included colors that made sense for day. You know, like some more cyan blue for shadows during the day, some more navy blue during the night. It means that you have the weird experience of seeing the shadows change when you're in a cave, which doesn't really make sense, but I'm fine with it. It means we get something cool.
Yeah.
For the Nether specifically, I thought it would be fun if, instead of doing the obvious like red lighting to like a darker red, all the shadows in there are actually blue. They're the complete opposite. They're all blue instead of being red, which means there's a lot more contrast against the light parts and the dark parts. and so that's why I think the Warped Forest looks so good in particular, because I agree. I mean, it's a little snotty to say, yeah, I did a great job, but I really think the blue of the Warped Forest and the blue of the shadows being contrasted against like the sparkles and the yellow like shroom lights, I think that works in a way that I really, really enjoy. I like that too.
Because it's really dark when you go into the Nether. You have to bring a torch and everything. So it's like, oh, I can't see. It's all black. But then you have to do the lava sort of shining up and revealing the surroundings. So I suppose you've also changed a lot of the names of items. I mean, I'm assuming just because it's like funny. But I suppose, did you have any like names that were quite specifically changed? Like you were like, yes, that needs to be altered, right? Because I know you've got quite some funny ones there, like you've called baked potatoes tater tots and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, yeah.
But like, was there any like specific ones?
Sure. There's I think my favorite one is the Nautilus shells. I just thought the visual of the Drowns holding rubber duckies was funny, and then it became like the evolution of that. So they're holding a rubber ducky, and that's called El Pequeño for some reason. And then you can make that into a Heart of the Sea, and then you can make a conduit out of that, and that the conduit is just the chicken model. It's just the model from the chicken, and it makes chicken noises. And I called it Big Chuck, and that's dumb. That's one of those concepts that I'm like, I should probably take this out. This might make it less fun. But let's be honest, who's using a conduit? I've never used a conduit in my entire life.
Yeah, it's quite a tedious process.
So I've started using conduits now because I get to see Big Chuck. So I think that's probably my favorite one. It's absurd for no reason. It really shouldn't be like this, but I like it.
So I think when it came to like, so with the chicken, I think you used a chicken sound or something like that. So was it just like was it intentional that you were like, oh right, we're gonna try and make this as like some areas as like wacky as possible because it's all askew, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, like if you want more vanilla sounds, you can play vanilla. For the chicken sounds, it's a rubber chicken that I just bought from like a party store and squeezed and punched and made scream. So certainly some parts are meant to be much sillier than others. I'm trying to think of another example. Like the cows, sometimes they'll get the cows have cowbells on them. So when you hit them, you hear the bell sounding. When they're walking, you can hear their bell as well, and it just made them look cuter. So I'm like, well, this is a fun addition as well. And cows also get special variants. Some of them can look like the Moo Bloom from that canceled mob vote thing, and others can look like the moon cows from that one very specific April Fool's update they did, which is fun. So yeah, definitely wackiness was intended. Stuff like the death messages are also meant to be more wacky and make you laugh, because death messages aren't really something that I advertise, which means you just experience them as they happen.
So, I mean, you've also done quite a similar job with the achievement names. I think the funniest one, I think, was a friend of mine gave me a funny joke, so I decided to steal it, and it's like, that's like fantastic.
That's dumb as hell.
It generally made me laugh so hard. So I was like, what? Why is this sentence here? Oh, I see. I get the joke at the end.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I just some things I was very intentionally trying to be as funny as possible with them.
Yeah. What would you say was like the most technically challenging part of like this pack? Because it's a total conversion, right? So you've done everything. Like, what was like the hardest part to do?
The hardest part has to be the entities, just because I'm not really a 3D modeler. It's not something that I'm experienced in. So it would always be a chore, I feel like, to go and do mobs, I would always feel like, now that I've done all the fun stuff like the sounds, I gotta go and make the thing look good, because I'm not good at thinking of textures in a 3D space. And I had to do a lot of the textures from scratch. I had to think about, okay, now that I have this resolution, I have to think about how I'm going to make it work. I couldn't just trace over the original textures, because that wouldn't work. They wouldn't fit with the Askew resolution. So I had to force my brain to think in 3D spaces, which is just something that I'm not good at.
Because I know if you don't, because when I was assembling my mod pack, there was one mod, if I missed it, like the horses with like gaps in them and stuff like that, because just like the models are too small, not too big.
That's something. Yeah, exactly. The textures would be off sometimes. Like Optifine alternatives for the CEM, which is custom entity models. Sometimes I don't know what's happening. Sometimes it does it wrong, and like spiders end up looking weird, and cows end up looking weird, and some people they'll say, "Hey, I just played Askew and I've got this bug happening," and I'm like, "Oh no, what's going on? I'll fix it." And it's something to do with them not using Optifine. I'm like, "Well, I can't help you with that. That's really not me. I'm sorry. If I could help you, I would."
Yeah. I mean, I tried to get like as close as to the quote unquote artistic vision as possible, because I was like, okay, I want to see what you wanted me to experience, right?
For
so
sure.
I was like, I'm literally not using Optifine, so it's not my fault if something doesn't look right. So it's like I'm not using the thing.
For
so
sure.
I sort of had to work around those. So I suppose, because we talked about like what was like the most technically complex and for you is modeling, but I suppose like if we're talking about I guess a second most technically complex, if we exclude models, because they're like quite a big part of the whole thing.
Right. I mean, technically, the second one would definitely be the sounds, even though I just said that's the fun part. And it's because, I could make a sound and I could go and record a bunch of stuff. And then I come back and I'm like, well, this doesn't work at all. This like, and it's hard to explain why certain sounds wouldn't work. It's more of a by ear thing. Just like, okay, this was a fun concept, but in putting it into practice, this sounds like weak, or it sounds unfinished in some way, which is hard to describe. So the sounds were maybe harder, but it's hard to put into words how. Just that sound is a topic that I'm not the most experienced in. I have quite a bit more experience now because I've done so many sounds, but it's really tough to get it to feel right. Even though it's meant to be different, it's still hard to make it feel like it belongs, even with the context of everything else.
So, because I know you've mentioned that your favorite video game was Kirby, and I know you've also mentioned you've taken like from other games you've played, like I guess inspiration from like the sound. Sort of, how did you sort of incorporate those different sort of soundscapes into Askew?
That's a good question. I think for the most part, I would classify myself as a Nintendo kid. That's what those are the consoles that I grew up with.
Yeah.
So a lot of my sound design, I think, is a lot more light and silly than the original game. Someone told me one time that Askew felt like Nintendo bought Minecraft instead of Microsoft buying Minecraft.
Yeah.
And I quite like that concept. I'm incorporating that into my beliefs. So I that's probably it. Is just a lot of the games that I've played have had more light sounds. They've not as in like less of them, but as in like they've been more less grounded, I guess. So stuff like when you shoot a bow, it makes like a whistling sound. Like that's cartoonish in a way. So that's probably the big inspiration. Not only regular Minecraft, I love regular Minecraft, but also Nintendo games, and the newer ones and the older ones.
Yeah, because I think you also mentioned something about Animal Crossing as well as being an inspiration for some of the music. Mm-hmm. Especially, I think one of the tracks you said was like quite heavily inspired by Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Pocketbook, which is the third song. Wait, it might be the fourth song. I'm final answer, fourth song. That one is very intentionally Animal Crossing-esque.
Because I know you've also said that when it came to composing the music, some of them don't use like traditional notes or like traditional scales, right? And thus aren't possible to be played on the piano.
That's true. A lot of that came from just listening to the song and thinking this is like too fast or whatever, and just in Audacity making it slower by -6 semitones. So that means that it's out of a playable range. If you wanted to put it in a playable range, it wouldn't be hard. You would just
shift it up,
shrink the shrink. Yeah. You could shift it back up, or you could shift it down the same amount, and then it'll be back in the 12 tone scale. So it's not that it's impossible. It's that if you played one of the MP3s and then sat at a piano and tried to play along with it, you might have a tough time. But that's for relatively few of them. There actually might be more that I just don't remember, because it was kind of a very simple end of production process to just make it slower, and then that also tricks people into thinking it sounds more like Minecraft because it's slower than it was before.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think if you had to pick, like, if you couldn't pick the music, what would be like the most, I guess, ambitious part of and you can't pick models because that was a big thing. Most ambitious.
Well, then that definitely just leaves me with sounds, because people they do texture overhauls all the time. The sounds were definitely the biggest undertaking, just because there's so many of them, and like I said, there's so many unnecessary ones. There's so many for things that just really don't need a unique sound. We've got a lot of sounds already in the game that could very easily be reassigned. Something that I appreciate is the Pale Garden doesn't have unique wood sounds, which that sounds like something that maybe someone would complain about, but the cherry wood had unique wood sounds, and I bet you never noticed. I bet no one ever noticed. Yeah, and it just meant that I had to do some finagling and make something work. Same with the bamboo wood makes a little more sense to have unique sounds, but I was just very glad that the Pale Garden had just regular wood sounds and regular leaf sounds, and didn't make new pale wood or pale wood sounds or whatever.
So is there a 1.21.4 version of Askew coming out then?
Yes, absolutely. Once again, we're waiting on Optifine. we're waiting on Optifine. The next version that comes out will have some new music. It'll have the creaking stuff done, and stuff like that. So yeah, there's more updates coming out, and like I said, I'm gonna add new secrets every time that I do an update, which is one of the fun parts. I had someone tell me, which this it makes me mad that I can't believe I missed this. I had someone tell me that they went through the files and they saw that in the code for the music events, I had a song misspelled. I had the song Hills spelled as heels with two eyes. So in the version that you have, and apparently all other versions of Askew, Hills has never played because I've had it spelled wrong this whole time. So damn, I actually can't believe that it's gotten like that. But with this update, I'm fixing that.
Right, we're getting to the end of my questions here, so we'll start off with quite a big one. Who would you say is your idol when it comes to this sort of creative work?
I think I would be my head would be put on a spike if I didn't say C418. But which is true. He's a huge inspiration, C418, but probably more so is Toby Fox. I like Undertale a lot. It's bad. It's a problem. And a lot of people have noticed that without me saying it. They're listening to the Askew soundtrack. They're like, this reminds me of some song from Undertale. And I'm like, well, damn. I wasn't trying to do that. It was not on purpose that, like, oh, this song is meant to be like this specific song from Undertale. It's just, I think no matter what that game it changed my life in some weird ways, and I think no matter how hard I try, I'm not going to be able to get that DNA off of whatever I do. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's like a
C for 18 certainly, but also Toby Fox.
yeah. I mean, Toby Fox, he's made like a genuine masterpiece. I mean, like people say when they look at the code, oh, it's a bit of a mess, but it's like that's not really what he was looking for, was it? He was just trying to make a creation.
Yeah, he was trying to make art. You know, you're right. I think, and I kind of think Askew accidentally also does that. There is certainly like not perfect optimization in Askew. I'm very aware. I think even the other day I opened Askew and some texture wasn't working at all, and I don't know why, and I'm gonna have to figure out why. Sometimes like sounds don't load properly. Like I have sounds for everything on my computer, but like some things just didn't get assigned right, or maybe they changed how their code worked for that specific sound, and it's kind of frustrating because it's kind of Mojang, but it's also undeniably me. I'm not the most organized person.
Because I know you're working on a game, and like, would you ever consider like because it's a 2D platform, isn't it? Would you ever consider 3D for like your next project after that?
I would consider it, surely. It's just that 3D, like I said, I'm not super great at thinking in 3D spaces. I don't know why. That's just a sort of limitation for me. But 2D animation is what I'm the most skilled at. Even though I don't do literally any of it for Askew, I've had real, actual, like, paying jobs doing 2D animation. And it's which is why the Communion project, that's the solo dev thing, that's all going to be 2D animated, because that's something that I know how to do, and I'm pretty proficient at, I think.
Do you reckon you've taken inspiration from sort of like games like Hollow Knight? Because I know they are quite.
I've seen Hollow Knight. I haven't played it, and I really want to. The problem is that I know it's hard. I know it's hard, and my favorite games are Kirby games. I'm boned. I'm screwed. But I'm going to play it for sure. I have a bunch of games that are like on my research list, games that I know have done well, that are in the similar genre. Like I gotta play Celeste soon, which also, soundtrack by the incredible Lena Raine, which I've listened to that soundtrack just on my own, dude.
Yeah,
holy shit.
yeah.
It's so good. It's awesome. So Hollow Knight is I'm not gonna I don't think it won't be an inspiration. I think by the time I play it, it will become an inspiration.
To be honest, I think we've all got like massive backlogs in our Steam libraries. I think Celeste is sitting there looking at me, and I'm like, I've listened to the soundtrack, but I just I need to get around to you.
I'm just scared.
Yeah. I think that's the big problem. It's like a big commitment, isn't it? It's just I think that's the biggest thing here. It's like, it's quite a large commitment to make a project of this scale, of this size. I mean, it really is just like an expression of you as a person, as well as like, the idea of just artistic freedom, I suppose.
Right.
When you think of Askew, what is like the first thing that comes to mind?
The first thing that comes to mind. I mean, it's right now it's a little bit of stress. It's just a little bit because I'm it's no longer something that I can have like full creative freedom on, which I still have like 90% creative freedom. I'm not saying there's a third party influencing me or anything like that. I'm saying more so the audience. Now they've like it's not a huge thing. It's still quite small, Askew, a bit smaller than I'd like, but that's fine. But there is an audience now, and they do expect something. They now have expectations, which means when working on this new album, I'm constantly thinking, which I know I shouldn't, but I am. I'm constantly thinking, am I meeting those expectations? Is what I'm doing right now actually going to be good for the established fan base that I have? Because I know that they like certain things more than other things. I know that they like the battle songs more, and I can't do a bunch of battle songs because there's just no room for them. And I know that they like certain things that I did with certain atmospheres. I know some of them are able to recognize some motifs more than others, and I know that they wouldn't like it if it was just more of the same as well. They'd like it, it's very specific, and I'm not trying to read anyone's mind here. I'm just saying that if I was a fan of Askew, this would also be how I would feel. I would feel like, cool, I like Askew, and it's nice they're gonna make more of it. I would like it to sound like what I expect it to sound like, but also I want to be surprised.
Yeah.
You know, which, dude, how am I gonna do that? I've already like extended quite far into the regular space, to the point where I'm sure some people are going to hear certain Askew songs and be like, this belongs nowhere in Minecraft, which for some of that's intentional. Yeah. And so that means that some of these new songs are also going to be a bit more far extended. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm nervous about how they're going to interpret it. I still stand by what I'm doing. I still stand by the art of it. It's just that, you know, you never know how an audience is going to react. There's no way for me to predict. So I just have to calm down is all.
Yeah. Right. Penultimate question, second to last.
Okay.
When it comes to sort of your ideas process, how much of an impact would you say your friends have? Like, are they like a crucial part of the process? Do they like help, or are they just more of like someone you go to is like, oh, a bit of advice? Or is it just, you know?
That's a good question. I love my friends. They're awesome. Quite a few of them are credited in the Askew credits. For the most part, it's I tend to stay fairly quiet on Discord. I'm kind of bad about that because I have a bunch of friends who want to talk to me, and I'm just always doing something, which means that my social life isn't awesome. But it's I will sometimes go into a channel with a bunch of my friends, and I'll say, okay, just give me an idea, and let's see if I can do something with it. Maybe I'm just having a brain fart or something like that, or I'm having some creative blockage, and someone giving me an idea can push me past that. It can be like them saying like, oh, give the Drowns a pirate hat. I'm like, oh, that's fun, and then I have to contemplate how much work is it to do that. And then almost always, no matter how much work it is to do that, I go and do it because it's fun. It's a cute thing to do. Yeah. So yeah, they certainly have some influence. It's just that it's more so when I'm out of ideas that I go to them. They still did a big part. My friend Cassandra Bick, she helped by starting a couple of songs. She just opened up FL Studio and put some notes down, and then I was able to build off of that, which is fun because it means that there was a voice that wasn't my own, doing some music, which meant I got to build on that and do something unique. So yeah, for sure. My friend Gabe, I will sometimes have coding troubles, and so I'll just go in a channel and I'll say, hey, please help me. I'm so dumb. Please help me. And he's great too. So yeah, it's sometimes they'll even record sounds for me. I've got a friend who did the cow sounds, who's a good friend of mine, and I'm really thankful for my friends, and I wonder if they wish they were involved more or less. I haven't asked them.
Right, I've just come up with another question. When it comes to, because I know with the end poem, right, that you had written, and I know you said there's like not supposed to be any sort of like deep lore, but like the end poem kind of is. Could you elaborate a bit more on that?
Sure. The end poem was written by Cassandra Bick, who I just mentioned, and originally I had written one, and I just wasn't happy with it. I didn't like it all that much, and so I sent it to Cass, and she's very good with writing. She's very intelligent, and the end poem is it's kind of what Askew is around. I don't want to reveal too much because I think people want to also interpret the end poem in their own way, but the way that I interpret it is it's about having to let go of childhood. We all love Minecraft. We played it as kids. now we're adults, and Minecraft we could still play. Obviously, it would be very hypocritical for me to say like, oh, you're not allowed to play Minecraft anymore. I've been working on for 3 years on this Minecraft project. It'd be very hypocritical. But I think it's more so about understanding that the past is behind you. There doesn't need to be more past in the future, which is kind of speaking to the people who are upset that C418 isn't coming back, upset about like the Microsoft buyout, stuff like that, or upset that, oh, they're making all these changes to the game, or which is always the crowd that you hear from the loudest. I feel like if you're on Twitter or Instagram, on any of those posts, they're always screaming and crying that this thing that's new isn't old. Wah!
Yeah.
So that's how I interpret the poem, saying, the past was great and things were good about the past. Not denying that things were good. It was solid. But now that time has passed and something's happened, events in your life or whatnot, you get to grow beyond that. You get to have more experiences. You get to experience brand new things in unique ways, and that's how I interpret the poem. And maybe Cass would have a different interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one who wrote it, so it's possible she'll have a different one. But that's how I interpret it, and I still encourage everyone, if you want to interpret it a different way, please do. That's great. I love to hear that. That's always awesome. Hearing someone misinterpret art is cool. I think seeing how someone else can feel about something is neat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really solid, like, I guess, life, perception, is just the idea of that, you can't change the past, so you've got to always look forwards. I think you can look back and be like, that was, I'm glad that happened, but I'm ashamed that happened, or I'm upset that happened. But it's like, you can't change that. You physically to put effort into changing it, you just can't do it. So just to do more things, just go forwards. Which then leads me on to my final question.
Ooh, I'm excited.
So with Askew, and especially with the idea of trying to get onto the Bedrock marketplace, and as an artist yourself, I think as artists, we always try to, make art, but also then find a way to monetize that art, right? Because you can't live off of air, as much as I'd love to. How, like, I suppose, when it comes to trying to monetize your skills or your work or Askew, like, how has that like been a challenge for you?
That's a great question, because I get people in my comments that are angry. They're mad that oh, so you made this and now you want you like, they're mad that I have a Bedrock edition in my hands that I could release for free and I'm not doing it. They're mad because, oh, so you did all this and now you're not giving it to us so you can make a quick buck. And I get it. I think there are people who don't have to work to live. Yeah. But I kind of have to. I have difficulty. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Art is incredibly important to me, and I don't think I'd be able to keep existing on this earth without being able to do it. And that means I'm gonna need to make a living off of it. It's not really optional. If I stop being able to make money off of this, which I'm not making a great deal of money on this as we speak, but if that continues, I'm obviously gonna have to do a real job, which I've held real jobs in the past, and they stifled me creatively incredibly. It's been really, really bad. And if I'm still trying to think of the proper way to say this, because I think people are going to misinterpret this as me being lazy or me trying to not work, when I feel like 5 hours of putting out music for free, don't call me lazy.
Exactly.
I'm working. I'm still working very hard, even if it's not in the coal mines. My arms are falling off.
It's not traditional work.
I would like to, yes, exactly. It's not traditional work. and I would like to be able to keep providing the service to people, because I have fun making art. I think other people enjoy seeing my art, which is always nice. I always like that, and being able to monetize it in some way is the only way for that to proceed. There's not another option. I don't have investors. I'm not part of a company. It's just me making all of this gargantuan stuff. There's no third party to fund me for this.
Yeah.
So I understand why some people are a little upset that I'm withholding the Bedrock Edition until it's able to go on the marketplace. I do get that. I also think that certain parts of the marketplace are a little scummy, maybe, you know. I'm well aware of that. But I'm telling you this for certain. I promise, when you get Askew, it will be worth more than what you pay for it. I promise this. The Bedrock Edition, it has some more stuff. It has even more fun stuff than the Java Edition has. I would go as far as to say that the Bedrock Edition might be the definitive version. The only issue that I have, this is an issue that maybe doesn't matter, but I really wish I could do the custom lighting in Bedrock. If I could do that, then I would be very confident in saying that the Bedrock would be the definitive version. But I like I said, I also understand why people might get upset, but I gotta. I just have to. There's no real working around it, you know?
Right. I mean, generally, it's been a fantastic conversation.
Oh, for sure.
You've provided some amazing answers, and like I hope you had a fun time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I had a ton of fun. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. I just like yapping.
I think if we've got something,
but also
if we've got something to be passionate about, then it's like, you know, you want to get it out there. You want to share it.
Yeah, for sure.